Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So recently we went on a vacation to Alberta, and trust me when I say this that we were not happy when the trip ended because it was one of the best trips of our lives. We even made an Alberta series on our vacation, and if you haven't watched it yet, you are missing out. Do give it a watch. The link is in the description box and somewhere on the screen.
And we made this trip not just for the purpose of leisure, but we also wanted to explore the city of Calgary from the perspective of making a possible future move. So now that we are back from our trip, we thought that let's pen down our thoughts and share them with you. So my name is Nishant.
And I'm Tanu, and let's get started.
So first and foremost, Calgary is beautiful, and that's the only thing that matters. So yes, Calgary is definitely a good city to move to, period. So thank you for watching guys, and we'll see you in our next video. Take care and stay safe. Bye bye. Oh, so are you still there? Okay, then let's continue with the video.
So when you're in Calgary, to experience the serene and beautiful landscapes, you don't have to necessarily go out of the city. You can experience the nature within the city itself. Calgary is not flat like Toronto or Delhi. Instead, you can see small mountains and ridges within the city, and if you're towards the edge of the city, you can actually see the famous Rocky Mountains also. So for the sake of comparison, if one says that Toronto is somewhat like Delhi in landscape, then you could say that Calgary is somewhat like Chandigarh.
Right, now moving from the landscape, let's talk about the city. Calgary is very open and wide, and it is very clean. In fact, many times Calgary has been considered to be the cleanest city in the world and is almost always included in the top 10 cleanest cities in the world. In fact, even if you do a Google search right now for the cleanest cities in the world, I'm sure you will find Calgary in most of the lists.
Apart from being clean, Calgary also had a very new and fresh feel. Even the older communities such as Brentwood and the Northwest Quadrant was also not feeling that old. And there were many new communities such as Arbor Lake and even Mahogany, which had lakes and ponds around them, and houses were built around these lakes and ponds, giving a resort-like feeling to the people living there.
And for someone who has moved from India, we all have this beautiful picture in our mind when we think about moving abroad. And trust me, when we were in Calgary, each and every corner lived up to that expectation.
Now let's talk about the people, because a city's vibe comes not only from its infrastructure but also from its people. We notice a lot of young population in Calgary, and because of this, even though Calgary is relatively slow and relaxed compared to Toronto, even then, because of its young population, it has an amazing energy and vibe. There was visibly less diversity than we have seen in Toronto, with a majority of the population being white. However, we saw a lot more indigenous people in the city than we have ever seen in the city of Toronto. And of course, Desi population is everywhere.
Now when we say young population, it is not just how we felt, even the figures say so. According to the Census 2016 results, Calgary has the youngest population among all the major cities in Canada. About 20% of the population is below the age of 15 years, and around 70% of the population is between 15 years to 64 years of age, which leaves us about 10% of the population that is over the 65 years of age.
And it is not just about the young population, but people are actually very nice. I think it's true for all of Canada. Even in Toronto, we would have people randomly greet us and give us a smile while we are on the street. But Calgary took it to another level. And it's probably obvious because Toronto is all about hustle and bustle. Everybody is in a rush, compared to Calgary, which is relatively more relaxed, and people have time to build a conversation with you.
So let us give you some examples from our own experiences. So during our stay in Calgary, one day at around 7 a.m. in the morning, we went for a morning walk in the neighborhood itself. So there was a middle-aged guy in the backyard of his house. He was watering his plants. So as soon as he saw us, he was like, "Hey kids, good morning." So we also wished good morning to him. And then the other day when we were in the downtown Calgary, I had an old man placing an order in McDonald's. So, and then he started talking to us for probably around 10 to 15 minutes, and it felt amazing.
Yeah, and a similar thing happened when we were in Jasper and we were staying at Tekara Lodge. So we were just passing by. I was wearing a cap with Toronto printed on it, and there was a family sitting in the restaurant, and they just randomly started a conversation. So, are you guys from Toronto? And then from there on, we had a nice conversation about Calgary and Toronto. So it feels really nice when people, and very welcoming when people initiate a conversation with you.
Right, and even the waiters and waitresses there, I mean, they were very friendly. They were not just doing their job of like serving us the food, but they acted as if they were friends. They were like chit-chatting with us. They were sharing their experiences and stories and even suggesting us the places that we should be visiting. So yeah, overall it felt amazing.
Now, talking about the weather, Calgary is considered to be colder than Toronto, and it is true. The temperatures were lower than Toronto in Calgary when we visited in the month of June. But Calgary is also the sunniest city in Canada. So the sun is like hot. I mean hot. Even at 22 degrees, we could feel the heat. And thanks to the gusty winds which helped neutralize the heat from the sun. So having a good coat of sunscreen is a must during summers.
And that is something what I missed putting on, and hence my larger than life forehead became a victim and I got pretty bad sunburns the day we were shooting for our downtown Calgary vlog. And now talking about the winters, obviously we did not experience the winters ourselves, but people told us that it is not as bad as it is portrayed. Yes, there are days when the temperatures will fall below -30 or even -35, but that is just for a spell of around 2 or 2.5 weeks. And because Calgary is a very dry city, hence -30 in Calgary feels almost like -20 or -22 in Toronto. And like Toronto's air has more moisture, hence it feels colder at -20 as compared to -20 in Calgary.
And as we said earlier, we did not get to experience the winter firsthand, but we can definitely say that Calgary is indeed very dry. The entire time we were there, we could feel that our skin and lips are too dry and we had to use lip balm almost every hour. But people do say that it can take up to 2 to 3 weeks to adjust to the weather. However, you might still need a lip balm in your pocket when you're going out, and you might need a humidifier inside the house.
Now moving ahead from this weather discussion, so Calgary has one of the best weekend getaways you can imagine. Banff National Park, Jasper National Park and much more. And within these national parks, you have a lot of attractions to explore like Banff town itself, Lake Louise, Moran Lake, Sulphur Mountain, a lot of scenic hiking trails and much more. And we have covered these major attractions in our Alberta trip series. So if you haven't watched it, then please do check it out, because there is nothing much to say about these places in this video. You have to see it to experience it.
So this was all the fun stuff, but now let's move on to some serious stuff such as cost of living and job, etc. Now, as we have said in our earlier videos that Calgary has a low cost of living, especially if you compare it to cities such as Toronto and Vancouver. You can rent a 1-bedroom apartment for anywhere between $1,000 to $1,300, and you can have a 2-bedroom apartment rented for anywhere between $1,600, and that too in downtown.
The average price of the houses sold in Calgary in June 2021, that is last month, was around 480,000 Canadian dollars, which is pretty good. So to give you an idea, in Calgary we were staying with one of our family friends who had a detached house in the southwest quadrant of Calgary at around 15 minutes drive from the downtown. And it costed around $530,000, which is still pretty good. And as an FYI, let me tell you that southwest quadrant is one of the costliest quadrants in Calgary. And at this price, that is around $530,000, you may not be able to get even a condo in Toronto at such a close proximity to downtown.
Apart from housing, if you talk about retail goods such as clothes, groceries, etc., then there isn't much of a difference. A few things were cheaper in Calgary compared to Toronto, while a few things were a few cents expensive compared to Toronto. So it isn't much of a deal breaker thing. But one of the crucial elements of the cost of living is the sales tax. It is about 13% in Toronto, but only about 5% in Calgary. So it's like getting an 8% discount on everything. And this is the reason we bought our Apple MacBook from Calgary while on our vacation, saving us about 8%, or you can say $150 cheaper than if you were buying the same thing in Toronto. And this can be really helpful when you're doing like big purchases. And this can add up to a big amount during your lifetime.
Now let's talk about the job market. So the major sectors in Calgary are obviously oil and gas, energy, and then you have film and television, and even fintech and financial service industry is also an emerging sector. In fact, I'm not sure if we have told you this before, but recently there was a pretty big banner just across the road where we live right now, and in that banner it was written, "Move to Calgary for fintech." Can you imagine that the city of Calgary is asking the people in Toronto to move to Calgary for the fintech industry? So it means that fintech and financial services industry is definitely on the rise in Calgary, and it is definitely growing.
And since I'm myself from the financial services sector, we kept our eyes open to see if there were enough bank branches in Calgary. And since Calgary is developed on a community basis, so each community would want to provide basic services such as banking. And we definitely saw various branches of different banks in each community. So if you have the right skills, enough experience and the right certifications, then getting a job in the retail banking sector should not be a problem.
And apart from financial services, health and wellness is a pretty good sector too, and IT is booming a lot. In fact, recently a couple of IT startups have opened their headquarters in Calgary. And apart from that, retail and tourism sectors are promising too. So now the question comes, is Calgary a good city to move to? So from our perspective, the answer is a resounding yes. We would definitely love to move to Calgary in the coming future, say in the next 1 or 2 years. But if it is good for you or not, then that's a personal decision based on your situation, your preferences, your profession and various other factors. But it is definitely a city worth considering.
Having said that, we are starting a new chapter in our life. We are moving to a new rental apartment. Currently, we are staying close to downtown Toronto, but soon we are moving into North York. Now, we did make some videos about apartment hunting in Canada, so if you want to watch those videos to get an idea as to what kind of apartments you can expect to see, then the link is in the description box and somewhere on the screen.
And finally, which apartment we have chosen for us, we'll definitely share that with you in our upcoming videos. So please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in our next video. Till then, take care and stay safe.